Hi y'all, this is Susan Lee Rose from SusanMakes.com, and I want to welcome you back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be making a craft with something that we normally would just throw away. You know what it is? It's a used dryer sheet. We're going to create some beautiful, beautiful backgrounds using these, and you would just not believe, you're going to be saving all of your dryer sheets and never getting rid of them because they're handy for crafts. We just, we call it crafting, but actually sometimes it's hoarding. So let me show you a couple of the cards that I'm going to show you how to make. I'm going to show you how to do the techniques in two different ways. They're very similar, but two different kind of color schemes and things like that. This is one of the cards that we're going to be making right here. Isn't that the cutest? The little mermaid stamps. All of the stamps that we're going to be using today are going to be from Sweet and Sassy Stamps. So this is one of the cards we're going to be making. Can you believe this is a dryer sheet? Another card that we're going to be making, again with stamps from Sweet and Sassy Stamps, is this one right here. I know that everything is backwards on the picture, so you can't read it, but it says, "I prayed for you today." And the one that on here is, "His love is deeper than the ocean." Both of these are kind of encouragement cards. With these times that we're going through right now with the whole COVID-19 and everything going on, I've been trying to send out cards to the older members of our church that are not able to come, or people that have health issues and things like that. And so I'm always making kind of these little encouragement cards. So I really love the way that these turned out. So y'all ready to get started? Well, before we do, if you like my videos, please click the subscribe button down below. And if you'll click on the button that looks like a bell, if you click all, that means that you'll get all of my videos every time I post. So I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. Now let's get started. All right, let's get started. We're going to be working first of all with the card with the mermaid. So we're going to pick some colors that work really pretty with that. So what I'm going to be using are spray inks. This is Dilution spray inks. We're going to be using 3 different colors on this one. We have London Blue, Vibrant Turquoise, and Fresh Lime. Those are the colors that we're going to be using for this one. So it's very simple to do. You're just going to squirt random pieces of the color onto the dryer sheet. And you're just going to randomly spray them on there till it's good and covered. All right, so we've got it really nice and covered. So you're also going to need a roll of paper towels. Any kind of paper towels will do. And I'm just going to roll this over the top to kind of absorb the excess spray ink like this. And actually, if you're really handy, you could turn this into something too. I may have to try that because I do a lot of stuff with spray inks where I do this, where I roll the paper towels over it, and you get some really cool patterns. I may have to save that actually instead of throwing that one away. That might be something for another video. Okay, so we have gone on here and we have sprayed this now. Let me get my chair pulled up and sit down. Let's see. We're going to start off with some Versamark ink. I'm going to take just a couple of pieces of paper and I'm going to just put it underneath here so we can gather up the embossing powder. So I'm just going to take this and I'm just going to kind of stamp it randomly on the paper, on the dryer sheet like that. We're going to be using, this is Wow Super Pearl, White Pearl Super Fine Embossing Powder. And I'm just going to sprinkle this across the page like this. And it's not going to stick to everything, but we're just going to get the whole thing in there. Then we're just going to take it and we're going to get off the excess. I'm going to set that aside just for a minute while I put up the embossing powder back into the jar so not to waste any. All right. So now we're going to just put our dryer sheet back over here. It's covered in the embossing powder. It's a very pearlized. And then we're going to go on with our heat gun. So it's going to be loud here for a minute, if you'll excuse me. Now we're just going to start melting the embossing powder. And you will see that as we do this, the dryer sheet will kind of shrivel up a little bit. And you'll see where it forms little tears in it, which are fine. This just adds to the character of it. And I like the way that when it kind of has the little wrinkles in it. So I'm just going to get all of that pearlized powder down. What's neat about this process is every one you make is a little bit different. So you never know quite what you're going to end up with until you're completely done with the project. Okay, that looks like that most of the embossing powder is dry. So now you'll see, if you can feel it, it's a little bit stiffer. I don't know if you can really see the pearlized sheen. Let me turn on my overhead light. There you go. You can see that sheen. How pretty is that? Okay, so we're going to set this one aside, and then we're going to start working on the next one as well. So we're just going to lay out the dryer sheet. And this one we're going to be using lime zest. We're going to be using fresh lime and the vibrant turquoise. But then as well as that, we're going to be using these Heidi Swap color shine sprays. I have gold, teal, and citron. We're going to be using those on this time. So again, you're just going to be spraying this randomly on the dryer sheet. No rhyme or reason. This one, because it's a little bit greener, I'm going to be using more of the green because I really want it more of a green color for that background. I do think I need a little more blue in there. Then we're going to be using the Heidi Swap color shines. These give a little bit of shine to it. It's really pretty. It's gold. And as well as the teal. All right, again, we're going to take our paper towels and we're just going to roll over that, get the excess of that off. And again, I think I'm going to save that. That might be some interesting card background there. You see why my husband says crafting is like hoarding? The things that normally would get thrown away, we keep because we think, maybe we can do something with that. All right, so again, I'm going to just put my paper down, put the background on it. Now this time, we are going to be using the Versamark again, but this time we are going to be using a gold shimmer. It's called Pearl Gold Sparkle. It's got glitter in it. It's really, really pretty. So we're going to sprinkle that all over this kind of randomly. It doesn't have to be covered completely. I'm going to get my thread that is in there out. Okay. So then I'm just going to kind of do like this because kind of get all the gold that I can on here. And then I'm just going to shake that off. Set that aside for a minute, and then let's just put the gold embossing powder back into the container. And after doing this, I found glitter all over my house. Just a heads up. Glitter is like the coronavirus of the craft room. It spreads everywhere. All right, so we're going to again use the heat embosser, and we're just going to start embossing the front of this. Again, you'll see where it kind of wrinkles up a little bit. It shrinks up. It gives it some really neat texture. I think that's all done. Look at the beautiful texture that comes with that. Again, let's see. You can see the sparkles, definitely. I like to keep the overhead light turned off when I'm doing the videos because it gives a little bit of a feedback, but you can see with the light on how sparkly that is. Isn't that beautiful? All right. Last time I did a video where I used one of these sheets, I had questions about where I got these. So I'm going to tell you real quick. These are purchased from off of Amazon. They come in a set of 2. You often will find them on sale at a special price. So keep your eyes out on lightning deals and things like that. I love mine because it kind of keeps my desk a little bit cleaner, especially when I'm doing things like spray inks. All right, so let me set that aside. And we're going to go on to the next step here. So the next thing that we're going to do, we have our 2 pieces here. They're very different, but they're both really, really beautiful, the way that the colors shimmer on there. One of them with the golden and one, of course, with the pearl eyes. So the first thing that we're going to have to do, let me clear my desk off just a little bit so I have some room, is we need to mount these onto cardstock. So I just cut my cardstock for this project. I will just cut it in half, well, in quarters, but this way. So we're going to cut it at 4 1/4. This paper, for some reason, is very, very weird. It does not cut smoothly. This is paper from, I did that wrong, 4 1/4. I did 4 1/2. Okay, there we go. It does not always cut very smoothly. And then we're going to cut this in half, which is 5 1/2. Because we're going to mount the dryer sheets, glue the dryer sheets onto these pieces of paper to help them have a little more stiffness to them. And I have got glitter everywhere. So I'm going to take just a minute. And I'm just going to wipe off my desk a little bit. Overspray of the ink and that kind of thing. And then my paper towels, which are right there. We will dry off the top of this a little bit, get rid of some of that glitter. All right. Now, so we're going to glue these onto the cardstock. Again, I like to use my little mat because it does kind of protect my work surface from glue and things like that. So we're going to lay these on here like this. And I'm just going to use just a little bit of Mod Podge. This works. Any glue would work. I just have Mod Podge, so I'm using it. And I find that it sticks really good to these dryer sheets. I'm just using a sponge applicator to apply the glue. And this is the same one I've been using for this whole process. And so it's a little stiff, but that's okay. And then a little bit of glue on this one. What's really nice is these wash clean. And they're really easy to wash clean. And then if they get really, really icky, they are easily replaced. And I have no problem replacing them because they didn't cost me a fortune. Okay, so the first one, we're going to just mount this gold onto here. I'm just going to try to line it up where it looks like it's a good fit. The same way with this one. I'm just going to line it up, press it down. I'm just going to fold my mat over. And then I just have a really big book. It is a big commentary, Bible commentary. I'm just going to set that on top of that. And then I'm going to let this dry for, an hour or so, and then we will be back. Okay, it has been an hour, and so these have dried. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim these down. I like to save these little pieces that I trim off because you can use them for other projects. So you can save them or not, depending on what you want to do. So I'm just going to trim these down. This way they'll fit into the embossing folders, which is what we're going to do next. We're going to stick these into embossing folders and emboss them. Just needed to make sure the glue was good and dry so they don't stick to the embossing folders. As you can see, they really turn out. Once they dry, they just look really neat. I love the way that they look. And of course, because I use the one with the glitter on it, I have glitter everywhere. All right, so those are how they look right now. So I'm going to use two different embossing folders. I'm going to use this embossing folder by Doris on the one that we're going to be using with the mermaid. It has waves on it. Then the one that I'm using for the floral one kind of has this lattice look. So those are going to go through my Big Shot. Get that up off the floor. All right. So we are going to run each of these through the embossing folders. I am just going to stick those in there, get them nice and even. And we're just going to run that through the die cutting machine, just like that. And so now, I don't know if you can see it, but it has now been embossed with those waves. It's going to be really cute on the mermaid one. All right, so the next one we're going to run through on this one that is a lattice. Again, we're just going to put that in there like so, and just run that through the die cut machine. Just like that. And so now this one has the lattice on it. So now those are all complete and ready to start using on some cards. So let's get started. Let me put these up real quick. And then we will get started on the first card that we're going to make, which is going to be the one with the mermaid on it. So I'm going to need, if you look at the original, I'm going to need a little bit of blue cardstock for this, and as well as we need to cut off some card bases. We're going to do that out of this white. All right. So let's cut this cardstock, the white cardstock, in half. 4 1/4. Make sure I get it 4 1/4, not 4 1/2 like last time. And we're just going to cut these in half so we get 2 card bases. Then we have this one right here that's going to go around the blue. It is going to be cut down to 5 1/4 by 4. So we're going to go to 5 1/4. This is matting, 5 1/4. And then we're going to cut it to 4. And so that's going to go matted on the front. Then the paper here, we are going to cut this down as well. This one's going to be cut down to 5 by 3 3/4. I'm going to see, cut that right here. Cut that off at 5. And 3 3/4. Now we're going to cut this a little bit We're going to cut it at 4 first because I want to cut off this little bit of extra that we have on either side. For some reason that didn't emboss properly. 3/4 right there. So that is all cut down. It's going to mount onto the navy, and then the navy, of course, is going to mount onto the front of the card base like that. Now, so the next step would be that we're going to stamp the images. I'm going to stamp them right now, but I will color them off screen. But we're going to need the mermaid. Let me get my stamps. All right, this is from Sweet and Sassy Stamps. We need our little mermaid. We need, I'm just going to set these on top of here so you can see them. The little mermaid. We need the little seaweed. We need this coral. And we need the rock. Now, I like to, when I'm using my alcohol markers, I use a artist marker paper. This is the one that I use. It's by B Company, B Paper Company. I like these because the alcohol markers don't go through this paper, and they don't spread outside of the lines. They stay really smooth. I really like this paper a lot. So we're going to cut this down so it will fit into my Misty. So we're going to cut it just 5.5 by 4.25. You can use scraps, of course. I just had to tear out a new sheet, so I did that. So we're going to open this up, move my magnets, and get those down. All right, so now we're just going to place the stamps on to the piece of paper, and we're just going to stamp them all at one time because we're going to be coloring these in with markers. Get that down. Now, I like to have a little piece of paper to go with me when I do this here. So I'm just going to stamp with it's Obsidian Black. It's the amalgam, I don't even know how you pronounce it. Amalgam ink by Gina K Designs. It's a good ink for using with my alcohol markers. And I'm just going to go in here and ink up my stamps. I take the paper towel because it moves a little bit smoother over the top. And press down on those. Let's see what the impression is. We got a really good impression, so that is good. I'm then going to put these on my stamp chamois and get them cleaned. I've used this stamp quite a bit. This is one I've used a number of times. I just love the little mermaid images on it. All right, so I've got these all stamped. So I'm going to go and color these and get them cut out, and then I will be back. All right, so I have gotten all of the die cuts or the stamps all colored in here. So now we're ready to put this card together. So I'm going to mount this onto the front of this navy blue. I just use my art glitter glue. This is the glue I use for most everything that I use. I do paper crafting wise. I love it. I have never had anything come off of a card when I have used this. I can't say that's the same for any other glue that I've ever tried before. This, when it's stuck, it's stuck. But what I like about the wet glue is it gives you a little bit of time to manipulate it. You can slide it around to get it lined up really good. And I do like that. So we're going to glue this onto the front of the card base. And just like this. Again, it's just wiggly enough that I can get it on there evenly. All right, so we have got that glued to the card front. So now we're going to start placing the elements onto the card. On this, I'm just using glue for these pieces, and I'm going to pop up the mermaid. I guess it'd take a good lid off there. A little bit of the glue on there. I'm going to put it right about there. Press that in. We're going to put the coral kind of behind the rock. So I'm going to kind of lift that up, have that go out like that. And then the same way with the seaweed, we're going to have it tucked behind the rock. Oops. Put a little more glue on that. About there. Now those are going to need to be held down for a little bit. So I get my big book and pop it on there. And then I'm just going to put the double-sided foam tape onto the back of the mermaid. It won't take long for the glue down there to dry. I'm just going to tape that on there, get her a little bit of pop up so she sticks up just a slight little bit. Let's see. It's a little bit. Trim that off. I'm just going to be putting up the little pieces of the foam tape to make her pop up. I want her to be popped up a little bit. Cut off just a little piece more for the tail. Probably not that much. There we go. All right. So I'm going to go on and just take off the backing of these. Okay, so now we are ready to apply her to the card. I'm going to look at the original card, kind of get placement, how I had her on there. Right about there, we're going to say. Okay, so she is on there. So now we just need to get the sentiment put on there. The sentiment that I'm using is also from the Sweet and Sassy stamps. It is from this kit right here, this stamp set. It's called Peace Be Still, and his love is deeper than the ocean. And I'm going to use the Just Jade Stampin' Up pad is the color that we're using. We're going to also heat emboss a saying on this. So we're going to just use this. I'm just going to use a stamp block for the time being. If I can get that up. Just a little stamp block. And we're just going to stamp this onto the cardstock like that. Then we're going to go in with this white pearl stamping embossing powder, and then I'm just going to put the rest of it back in here, and we're just going to pull out the heat gun. And melt off this embossing powder. just like that. Put that over here to get cleaned. All right, so we have the sentiment already here. So now we just need to cut it out, and I'm going to use a stamp, punch, excuse me. This is the Label Me Lovely punch from Stampin' Up. And this is only going to go in there so deeply. You know, it's not going to go in there real deep. So I may have to cut off a portion of, yeah, I'm going to have to copy. Let's cut off a portion of this top part so it'll go into the punch correctly. So I'm just putting this in here, and then I'm going to line it up where it looks about even. That looks good. Let me look at this direction. That looks good. I'm just going to punch it. Move that out of the way. And again, we're just going to put a little bit of the double-sided foam tape on the back of this to have it sit up off of the card a little bit. And then this card will be pretty much done. The only thing that I would need to do is if I wanted to do anything on the inside, which I am not going to currently do in this. I kind of like to leave cards blank on the inside so that if I need to go in later and put in a sentiment, I can put in an appropriate sentiment. I make so many cards that, you know, if I stamped them all one thing or, you know, different things, this just makes them a little more versatile so that we can use them for many different kinds of occasions. This one's pretty much just going to always be a friendly card, but encouragement type card. But so then we're just going to place that on the front, and there we're done. We have our two cute little mermaid encouragement cards. So cute. All right, so for the other card that I'm going to be making today to show you, I have already punched and colored all of the elements on that except for the sentiment, which we will do that here in a little bit. These are both from kits from, or stamp sets from Sweet and Sassy Stamps. This one is called Made New with the butterfly. And then the flower is from this one from Sweet and Sassy, which is called, let's see, what is the name of this one? Consider the Wildflowers. So those are the ones that we're going to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to glue the background onto the card base. This is a really simple one to put together, but it really has a lot of bang for the buck, so to speak, because of all of this glittery background. How pretty that is. All right, so now we're going to put this on here, and we're going to raise this up. So we're going to use our double-sided foam tape again. I like having some of these things kind of pop off the page because it gives them it gives the whole card a little more dimension, which is nice. It doesn't have a, you know, it's not really flat or anything like that. I'll cut off a couple of longer pieces that we're going to cut into pieces like this. Kind of put in a couple of areas. All right. Again, we're just going to peel these off, and then we're just going to affix it to the front of the card. All right. We're going to do it a little bit high because we're going to have the sentiment down here. So right about there, I think, looks good. Then with the butterfly, we're going to put a piece of double-sided tape, but we're going to fold it in half, like so, because I wanted it to be raised a little bit further off of the card than the flower arrangement. We're just going to put that onto the back of the butterfly, and then I'm going to attach that right here. And then I like to kind of fold up the wings just a little bit so it has that extra little bit of dimension. So the sentiment for this card is from this stamp set called Begin Again, again by Sweet and Sassy Stamp. It says, I prayed for you today. And let's see, there it is. Get my Misty out here. Scoot that up. We are just going to stamp this onto this little piece of scrap of white paper. And then I'm going to use my Obsidian Black ink from Gina K Designs. And then I am just going to press that on. It needs another stamp to be clear on that end. There we go. That's better. All right, we're going to stick this over here to get cleaned. So now I'm going to trim down the sentiment. Let's get my... I'm just going to scoot that up there. Then I'm going to try to get this all lined up in here evenly. All right, so we got I prayed for you today. Now we're going to take some of this paper here. This is, let's see, this is almost 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to do this one to 3/4 of an inch as well. There's a method to my madness here. We're going to make those little flag ends with this. 3/4 of an inch. All right, then I'm just going to cut this in half. We're just making our little flags here, the flag ends. We just want them to be about the same width as this. It's not going to be perfect, but it will work. We're going to cut just a little slit right there. And then we cut from the corner to that corner, and from that corner to the center. Excuse me, not corner to corner. Again, make a little slit in the center, cut from corner to center, cut from corner to center. Now we're going to have this raised up as well, so I'm just going to put a piece of the double-sided foam tape on the back. Just like that. And that's going to just fit right here on the card on the center. Then we're going to take these and we're just actually going to glue these down. So we're just going to put a bit of glue right there. Let me get my tweezers. And we're just going to get that on there like so. Good and even. Again, get a hold of that. A little bit of glue. We're going to enter that, put that on there. Try to make it even, just like that. And so we have now completed using something that would normally get thrown away to make some beautiful, beautiful cards. So we've got these two right here where we did, as well as the two mermaid ones. And that is the tutorial for today, and I hope that you enjoyed it. If you liked my video, please hit the subscribe button down below. And if you don't mind, also go find the little bell down there, click on it, and then click all, and that way all of my videos will be delivered directly to you. I hope that you have a blessed day. Bye.